The week that followed felt heavier than any rehearsal had before. In arrived at the Arena as usual, her kit in one hand, a thermos of warm tea in the other, but a strange tension hung in the air. Jungkook was already there standing at the edge of the stage, hoodie pulled tight, eyes scanning the space with a faintly distracted gaze. The closeness they had built, the playful teasing, shared smiles, small touches, and quiet support had become the subject of whispers beyond the backstage. At first it was subtle, a crew member's comment here, a trainee's observation there. But whispers travel fast, and before long it had reached the higher-ups in Jungkook's company. Hannah, who had been watching them carefully for weeks, noticed a sudden shift in Jungkook's behavior that morning. He laughed less, smiled only faintly when it approached, and seemed more aware of other staff watching them. "Something's off," Hannah murmured to Mindy. "I think management has heard about them," Mindy replied, shaking her head. "And you know what that means." In busy setting up his makeup station, didn't notice the exchange, but the shift in Jungkook's energy was palpable. Where he had been relaxed and playful just days ago, now he seemed guarded, cautious. By the late morning, the management office had been abuzed. One of the assignment managers had seen a staff member lingering near Jungkook during rehearsals and reported it. Soon, messages flew to Jungkook's senior manager. "The makeup artist, too close to Jungkook. It's unprofessional." Fans may notice, and this could damage his image within hours. Jungkook was called to private meeting, unweighted backstage, unaware of the storm that had begun to brew. "He seems too distracted," she thought nervously, trying to focus on her work. "I hope it's nothing serious." In the meeting, the manager's tone was sharp, bordering on accusatory. "Jungkook, we've received reports regarding your interactions with a staff member. It's causing concern among fans and affecting your professional image. You need to maintain professional boundaries immediately." Jungkook felt a tightness in his chest. The warmth he had felt around him, the comfort, the playful teasing, the small trust they had built, suddenly felt like it had been labeled dangerous. Dangerous, he thought. Just because someone noticed me, sees me, that's a problem. He nodded, suppressing the frustration he felt. "Understood," he said quietly. When he returned to the stage and noticed the subtle shift immediately, his smile were faint, gestures smaller, and he kept a careful distance. She tried to approach as usual, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. I need to focus," he said, voice tight. "Let's just rehearsal." In swallowed the lump forming in her throat. Their bond, which had grown so naturally, now felt fragile under the weight of authority and perception. She adjusted his microphone quietly, silently, wishing she could say something that would ease the tension, but words failed her. As rehearsals continued, fans began to catch on. Social media was buzzing. Small videos leaked in adjusting Jungkook's hoodie, laughing quietly at one of his jokes, or handing him a water bottle. Comments flooded in. "What's going on between Jungkook and that staff member? I don't like this. She's just a makeup artist. He's an idol. They are spending too much time together. It's unprofessional. I feel like this could ruin his image if the company doesn't act." Even fans who genuinely admired Jungkook began to voice concern. What was once private, unnoticed, and intimate had become public fodder for speculation. Backstage, the staff were whispering constantly. Some were sympathetic, understanding the closeness as natural, but others worried about consequences. They were clearly attached to each other, many whispered to Hannah. "But the higher-ups will not like it. The fans are already buzzing. Something's going to happen." Even Supho, who usually stayed neutral, shook his head. "It's obvious they care for each other, but this could explode. I just hope it doesn't hurt him or her." Hannah, ever observant, sighed. "They'll have to be careful. Every gesture, Every glance, now it's being judged. The next rehearsal felt heavier than ever. Jungkook's movements were precise, but his energy lacked the usual spark. In tried to be supportive, leaning close to adjust his collar, placing water bottles and tissues near him, but even the smallest gestures were now layered with tension. "You don't have to do this," Jungkook murmured quietly during a break, eyes avoiding hers. "To what?" she asked, confused. "Pretend it's nothing, pretend we're just colleagues. The fans, that company, it's too much." In chest tightened. She understood the industry pressures, the obsessive fandom, and the strict rules, but it hurt to pull back after weeks building trust. "This isn't fair," she thought. "We didn't do anything wrong. We just care." She nodded slowly, trying to hide her hurt. "I understand," she whispered. The rumors continued to spread online. Headlines hinted a staff artist scandal, voices circulated, and forums exploded with debates. The private bond they had nurtured was now public fodder, scrutinized and judged by strangers. Backstage, Jungkook and In moved with careful distance, avoiding unnecessary contact, their once playful teasing replaced by quiet professionalism. Every glance, every word was measured. This is what it means to care for someone in the spotlight, In thought, silently etching. Even genuine affection can be dangerous. Jungkook felt it too. The warmth, the comfort, the trust they had shared was now strained by external pressures. He wanted to reach for her, to reassure her, to ignore the fans and managers, but the fear of consequences held him back. "I can't risk it," he thought. "Not my career, not my image, not even us." That night the arena emptied and the city lights shimmered through the windows. In lingered near Jungkook's station, hoping for one last moment of connection. I don't want this to change you," she said softly, voice barely audible. "I know," he replied, gaze lowered, "but it's already complicated. I can't control what people think, what management will say, or how the fans react." The silence between them was heavy, filled with the weight of unspoken feelings, missed opportunities, and the cruel reality of fame. Sometimes caring means stepping back, In thought, heart-etching, even if it breaks you inside. And Jungkook, staring at the empty stage, realized how much she had come to mean to him, perhaps more than he ever allowed himself to feel, and yet the world around them seemed determined to pull them apart. Few days later, the arena felt colder that morning, even with the usual buzz of rehearsals. In arrived with her kit, but today she carried an unspoken heaviness in her chest. She had noticed it over past few days. Jungkook's smiles were faint, his gestures distant, and the warmth that once surrounded them backstage was replaced by careful professionalism. He barely looked at her as she approached. "Good morning," she said softly, setting her kit down. "Morning," he replied, voice clipped, eyes avoiding hers. There was no teasing, no playful glance, no shared laugh, just a polite distance that hurt more than any harsh words could. Later, during a break, In found him sitting alone by the edge of the stage. The usual comfort of his presence now felt strained and heavy. She approached cautiously, not knowing if she had the right to speak. "Jungkook, is everything okay?" she asked, voice gentle. He looked at her, eyes flickering with something between regret and resignation. I can't," he said quietly, his hands clenching slightly. "I can't risk my career, the fans, the company. They won't understand this, us, it's too dangerous." Her chest tightened. "But we didn't do anything wrong," she whispered, struggling to keep her voice steady. "I know," he said, shaking his head slowly, "but it doesn't matter. It's not just about what we feel, it's about what the world sees. And if anyone notices, it could ruin everything I've worked for." Tears pricked her eyes, but she blinked them back. She understood, perhaps too well, the cost of ambition, the weight of fame, and the fragile line that separated private moments from public scrutiny. So even caring for someone can be dangerous, she thought silently, even when it's genuine. From that moment, Jungkook began pulling away, subtly at first, then unmistakably. He stopped lingering near her during rehearsals, kept conversations as strictly professional, and avoided the small, playful gestures that had once defined their bond. In tried to maintain the professionalism, but it was impossible to ignore the absence of his warmth. Small details, the hand that no longer rested briefly on her shoulder, the faint smiles, replaced by polite nods, the silence that stretched uncomfortably, spoke louder than words. She found herself leaving small notes anyway, carefully hidden in his kit or water bottles, hoping he might read them in private. But even those gestures became risky, and Jungkook no longer responded in the subtle ways he used to, a faint smile, a note in return, a shared glance. The staff noticed the tension immediately. Minnie nudged Hannah quietly during rehearsals. "Have you seen how distant he's become?" "Yes," Hannah replied softly, frowning. "He's holding back. And it's breaking her too. They were so close. And now—" Even Sue, usually silent and observant, shook his head in concern. "It's obvious. Something happened. She notices it, and it's affecting her work. And him. He looks like he's carrying guilt." The backstage, once a safe cocon of small laughter and playful intimacy, now felt tense and fragile, as if every movement could shatter the invisible thread connecting them. In spent hours after rehearsal staring at her kit, her thoughts a storm of confusion, hurt, and understanding. She remembered the years of struggle that had brought her here, the rejections, the lonely nights practicing techniques, the financial pressures, the constant uncertainty. "I fought so hard to be here, and now am losing the one person who made it feel worth it," she thought briefly. Jungkook, meanwhile, retreated to the empty stage, staring at the bright lights that once symbolized warmth and now felt like a barrier. The weight of his career, his fans, and the company's expectations pressed heavily on him. "I can't risk everything I've worked for," he thought. "Even if it means losing her, even if it breaks us both." Days passed, and their interactions became strictly professional. It adjusted his makeup, handed him water, and ensured he had everything he needed. But the subtle intimacy, the quiet comfort, and the small shared moments were gone. Jungkook avoided lingering looks, stopped initiating small conversations, and kept his distance even when she tried to offer encouragement. The few fans noticed the change too. Speculation increased. Why is he avoiding her? Did something happen between them? He looked so happy before, and now he seems sad. Even those who supported him couldn't understand the delicate balance he was trying to maintain. One evening, as in packed up her kit after rehearsal, she paused, staring at the empty stage. Jungkook had left early, avoiding her gaze as usual. She felt a hollow ache in her chest, the weight of unspoken words and broken trust pressing down on her. "I came here to help him, to see him happy, and now he's pushing me away," she thought, tears threatening to spill. "Is caring for someone always this painful?" And somewhere in the quiet backstage, Jungkook felt the same emptiness. The warmth she had brought to his life, the comfort of her presence, and the gentle understanding that had made the weight of fame bearable, all now replaced by a cautious, professional distance he imposed on himself. "I wish things could be different," he thought. "I wish I could keep her close, but the world won't allow it." The aerial lights glimmered faintly, casting shadows across the stage. And in that space, between ambition and affection, between rules and desire, the unspoken truth hung heavily. They cared for each other deeply, but the world was determined to keep them apart. "I can't ruin his career. I can't let my feelings hurt him." The decision weighed heavily on her, but she knew she had to act with care. Stepping back didn't mean giving up, it meant protecting him. I can't ruin and perhaps in some painful way protecting herself too, and perhaps in some painful way protecting herself too. She found herself hesitating at the dressing room door, fingers lingering on the handle. Every instinct told her to knock, to talk, to remind him of their connection, but another voice whispered a harsh reality. He's protecting his career. You can't force this. Not here. Not now. Inside, Jungkook sat alone, scrolling through social media. Fans' comments about their rumored closeness had multiplied overnight. They are too close. It's unprofessional. He's spending so much time with her. Someone warned him. I liked him better when he focused on the music, not this staff drama. The words stung not because they were untrue, but because they reminded him of the fragile image he had to maintain. In had always seen through him past the idle mask, past the exhaustion, past the fame. Now he couldn't afford to let anyone see that side of him. He felt her presence before she even spoke. She cleared her throat softly, her eyes downcast. I wanted to ask if you need help with anything today, she said cautiously. No, thank you, Hey, replied, voice polite but distant. Everything is fine. She nodded, forcing a small smile, but her heart sank. The easy laughter, the small shared moments of comfort, they were gone. Later, she sat in the empty break room stirring her too absent, mindily. The thought that had been building for days crystallized. Maybe it's time I stepped back. She thought of her years of struggle, of working tirelessly to build a career, of learning Korean, of overcoming rejection after rejection. But the bond she had with Jungkook was now threatened by forces beyond her control, management rules, obsessive fans, and the fragile image of an idol who could not risk a scandal. I can't ruin his career. I can't let my feelings hurt him. The decision weighed heavily on her, but she knew she had to act with care. Stepping back didn't mean giving up, it meant protecting him. I can't ruin and perhaps in some painful way protecting herself too, and perhaps in some painful way protecting herself too. The following rehearsals were a test of willpower. Each interaction became loaded with unspoken tension. In adjusted Jungkook's hair or microphone, careful to remain professional. Jungkook accepted the gestures, but his eyes avoided hers, the small sparks of connection now buried beneath caution. There were moments, fleeting, almost imperceptible, when their fingers brushed while handing him water, or when their eyes met in a shared glance. Each time a shiver of longing ran through them, unspoken words lingering in the air, but they pulled away, swallowed by the reality around them. Even the staff noticed the tension. They are trying, but it's breaking them, Mindy whispered to Hannah. It's obvious. The distance is hurting both of them. You can see it in his posture, in her eyes. One evening Bin stayed late to pack her kit, hoping to finish quietly. Jungkook, unaware she was still there, appeared at the edge of the stage, stretching alone. She hesitated, then spoke softly, Jungkook, do you regret anything? He didn't answer immediately. The silence stretched heavy with unsaid feelings. Finally, he shook his head slowly. No, I just can't risk my career. I care, but I can't. Not here, not now. Her chest ached, the words confirmed what she had feared. Their bond, once bright and comforting, was now overshadowed by the pressures of his world. I understand, she whispered, but it still hurts. The days blurred together, each rehearsal marked by professionalism tinged with unspoken grief. In began seriously considering leaving the job, at least temporarily, to give Jungkook space and protect the fragile line between their private connection and public scrutiny. Jungkook, meanwhile, felt a knowing emptiness he could not ignore. The warmth she had brought, the comfort of someone who truly saw him, was gone, replaced by distance he imposed on himself to safeguard his career. I wish I could have both, he thought. I wish I could have her. and still shine under the stage lights. But I can't. Every glance they shared now carried weight, unspoken longing, restrained affection, and the painful understanding that their closeness might soon be broken by circumstances beyond their control.